Hi, I'm Doug from Dynamic Computing and welcome to episode 156 of 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast. This week I wanted to announce the beginning of the Amiga Art Contest 2023. Yes, I know I usually start it at the beginning of June, but life kind of got in the way this year, so I'm starting it today, June 24th. And this year it's going to go through November 11th of 2023. So we have the same amount of time, about 6 months or so, to get everything done. Now I'll plan the live stream sometime end of November, maybe early December, again with my good friend and co-host Kevin Saunders, who you see right here. This is the actual only known picture of Kevin Saunders, I promise you. So thanks a lot, Kevin, for volunteering to help this year, and I know you've got some cool art contest promo videos in the work that should be out soon. We'll release those quite soon. And what is the Amiga Art Contest? Asks you newcomers to my channel. Well, it's a friendly competition to see what kind of beautiful and creative artwork we can create on our Commodore Amiga computers. Of course, the Amiga always has been considered the computer for the creative mind. That was one of Commodore's biggest ad campaigns for it. And there's an absolute ton of paint packages, graphics packages, editing software, animation packages, music packages that have been available for the Amiga for years. For example, Deluxe Paint, everybody's heard of. Personal Paint, most people have heard of. Image Effects, Art Department Professional, Octamed, all kinds of creative programs. And even you gamers who in the 90s were playing on your Sega machines and things like that, a lot of the graphics for the games you were playing created right on the Amiga in Deluxe Paint, believe it or not. So in early 2019, I was brainstorming what I could do to help grow the Amiga community and just give it a better sense of community. And I came up with the idea for an art contest. Honestly, I was looking through some old Commodore magazines from the 80s, and they had an 8-page art contest in there with Amiga artwork and Commodore 64 artwork, and I thought, hey, that'd be kind of cool. Let's give it a shot. Well, it turned out bigger than I expected, and in the years, this is the 5th year, in the years since I've started the contest, I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contributions from dozens and dozens and dozens of people, showing and proving that the Amiga community is still alive. Let's take a look at a few while I explain the contest. Now, the initial category was the hand-drawn category, and with this category, almost anything that you can create in a package like Deluxe Paint, Personal Paint, Photon Paint, Brilliance, any of the hand-drawn packages. Using the tools of the Amiga, these artists who you see a bunch of their work coming across the screen right now have created some incredible artwork. Some of the people who've contributed have been as young as 9 years old. Really awesome stuff. If you're good at using tools to create hand-drawn artwork, this is the category for you right here, the hand-drawn category. Next up is the 3D category. Now, the Amiga excelled at 3D and ray-traced graphics from nearly the beginning. I mean, there were times in the mid to late 80s, I would be talking to some of my computer teachers at school. They didn't even know what 3D ray tracing was. They had absolutely no idea because they didn't know what an Amiga was. They were PC users. Programs like Babylon 5, Sequest, we've all heard the stories of the Amiga being used to create the graphics for that, the 3D graphics, but it was used in a ton of shows. It was used in a ton of videos. It was used in a ton of movies to create some of the 3D images that we know and love. Things like Turbo Silver, Imagine, of course the ubiquitous Lightwave. Any of those programs still make fantastic 3D images, and this is the category for you. All I ask is that the image is created on the Amiga. If you want to render it in 24 bits, that's fine by me. The Amiga supports 24 bits just fine on an AGA Amiga, and there are plenty of retargetable graphics options available if you want to render them in 24-bit. Next up is the photographic category, and our platform had some incredible programs like art department professional that I absolutely love and I use on a weekly basis. Image effects, absolutely love, still being produced to this day. Brilliance has some great photographic and almost Photoshop-like enhancements, and there's a dozen other programs that do a great job too. Our platform has no issue at all bringing in images like JPEG images, modern JPEG images. This is a JPEG image right here that I brought in Image Effects. Kevin Saunders did this one. Back to these scrolling videos here. But when you bring a photograph into the Amiga, I'm not just looking for you to bring in a photograph of Aunt Sally and then converting it to 32 colors. No, do something fun with it. Do something creative like you see here. Something that knocks our collective socks off. Use, adjust the contrast. Do some really cool high contrast images that really bring out and emphasize the colors. Do something with modifying the images like you see here. As long as the Amiga is the machine that's processing it, have fun bringing in your photographs and having some fun with it. Next up is the animation category. Now we've all seen the awesome animations from the late 80s and early 90s from Eric Schwartz, and Eric is still creating things on the Amiga. He's been part of the contest for years and has won several times. Use something like Deluxe Paint or Disney Animation Studio or any of the other dozen cool animation packages to create something on the Amiga. And you're not limited to just what the Amiga can display natively. A quick little 30-second animation on the Amiga is fantastic. But if you want to create something huge, create the individual frames on the Amiga and then bring them over one at a time into another package and create a 10-minute long animation. That's fine. That's what we used to do back in the day. We didn't just play them back on the Amiga. We dumped the images frame by frame onto tape and play it back from videotape. Do it now with modern technology. That's just fine, as long as the core product was created with an Amiga. Last up is the music and mod category. This one's actually pretty flexible. We want Paula to sing. Any music created on the Amiga is fair game. If you want to create a cool mod file, fantastic. If you want to use digitized sound, great. If you want to create something in a studio using MIDI controlled by the Amiga, more power to you. I've had full videos, like MTV quality videos, yes, I'm talking about you, Polly, contributed to this because a good portion of the music and the work was done using Amiga computers. Perfectly fair game as long as the Amiga had a big part in it. If you're a DJ and you've got an awesome set you want to send in, fantastic, send it in. Created some cool mod files, wonderful, send them on in. If it's music that you've created or done a lot of work with on the Amiga, it fits the criteria of the music and mod competition. And what about the winners of each category? We've got 5 categories again this year. Well, Kevin Saunders and I, we look at all of the submissions in all of the categories, and he and I narrow it down to our top 3 in each category. Then we allow our absolutely wonderful patrons to join in the fun, and they get to select their top 3 from each category, and then we weigh mine and Kevin's decisions. We add in the patrons' decisions to come up with a final first place, second place, third place in each category, and an ultimate grand prize best of show winner. There's always one of those every year. Now in the past we've had some really cool prizes like an Amiga 500 Mini and some joysticks and some mice and things like that. We've had some cool parts from our friends at RetroReady.1. We've had gift certificates from Retro Rewind in the past. We're still trying to nail down exactly what the prizes are going to be. But so far, Lucas Remus, the creator of the Amiga inspired mouse, which you'll see a video link for right there, has volunteered to send me some mice as a prize. I think that's really awesome. You guys are going to love his mice. They're just really great. We'll have more information on the prizes by the end of July. I'm still kind of working on that. Just a few rules about the contest. I really do mean it when I say the artwork needs to be done on an Amiga. Don't do something in Photoshop and then just reduce it to 64 color extra half bright and call that your submission. Actually do something with it on the Amiga. I don't mind if you create it on another platform and then bring it to the Amiga. Just make sure it receives a good amount of Amiga love. Here's an example. Like, this is a picture of Deborah Harry from Blondie, okay? And of course she was huge with the launch of the Amiga with Andy Warhol. This started out as a black and white full page image of all of the beautiful Deborah Harry. I cropped it down to a smaller, just her headshot, colorized it using Dpaint 3, which has some really cool colorizing tools that other Amiga packages just don't seem to match. And that was one of my contributions to the art contest back in 2021. So do something fun, do something creative, and really, modify the images if they're going to come from someplace else. Here's an example. Our great friend Amiga Bill, you guys know Amiga Bill, everyone knows Amiga Bill. He photographed King Kong attacking New York City, as King Kong often does. But he added in the boing ball for a little bit of Amiga realism. Great job, Bill. Now, do you have to use a real, genuine Amiga like my Amiga 1200 down here? No, of course not. You can use WinUAE, you can use Pymiga, you can use a standalone Vampire. As long as it's at its heart Amiga-oriented, Amiga-based, that's what really matters. WinUAE, you can get that thing to run as fast as a 700 megahertz Pentium with 24-bit color. Can you use that to create something? Of course, because its heart is an Amiga. That's fine. With music, get yourself a nice MIDI interface, and you want to hook it up to a drum machine and a keyboard and all that stuff and create music on those devices but are controlled by the Amiga. Fair game, because it's been touched, it's been handled by an Amiga. Modern Amigas are okay. If you want to use one of the new OS4 Amiga 1 machines, perfectly acceptable. Now, MorphOS, that's kind of pushing it a bit. That's Amiga inspired, but I'd probably let it slide. How about artwork that you created 30 years ago on your Amiga and has been sitting on a floppy disk? Send it in. We'd love to see it. Just talk about it. Now, how do you contribute to the Amiga Art Contest? Well, I accept contributions in most formats. I'd really prefer the original IFF, ANIM, or MOD formats. If you can get it to me in the original Amiga formats, that's the best. But if you need to do it in a more modern format like JPEG or PNG, that's fine. I'll convert them over to IFF. PNG is preferred because it's more of a lossless format than the lossy format of JPEG. So if you can get them to me in PNG, that's great. Original mod files are great. Original anim files, any format's fine. If you need to get me the animations over in MPEG or MP4 format, that's okay too. Send them to me at art@amigaartwork.com, which you see right down here at the bottom. I can handle up to 20 megs at a time, no problem at all. I can also supply a Dropbox link if you've got a larger file, or just email me. We'll work something out. You can send it to me on 300 floppy disks and I'll decompress it. No problem at all. Now, my goal is always to live stream the final reveal at the end of the year using real Amiga hardware. I've got my Amiga 1200 I've used for the past couple of years. Now she's got a Pi Storm in it with full 24-bit graphics. This happens to be a 1280 by 720 Ham 8 image right there, being displayed right on the old Amiga 1200. So it can handle almost anything I throw at it, and I can live stream with that just fine. When you send in your contribution, make sure you provide a nice description and explanation of what equipment you created it with. The more information about that, the more exciting it is to talk about. Tell me how you created it, how long it took, what your inspiration was. Just tell me a story. Create a story about what's going on with this. That goes a long way into our decisions about the prize winners when they have an actual good story that goes along with it too. I have more information on this on my Amiga Artwork website, which you'll see here at the bottom, and we promote it a lot on our Amiga Artwork Facebook page that Kevin and I have. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to both mine and Kevin's patrons for making this possible. Of course, our patrons are absolutely fully able to contribute artwork to the contest, and they're able to win prizes. No problems at all there. And remember, our patrons are able to vote in the contest too, which is always fun. So if you're interested in joining either Kevin or mine Patreon, links will be in the description. And thank you all very much. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to all of the fantastic contributions for Amiga Art Contest 2023. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it in the future. You guys know I don't shut up about it for months at a time. Huge thanks to my co-host Kevin Saunders and all the really cool intro animation and artwork that he creates for the show. I really appreciate that. You're the best, Kevin. And please like and subscribe. Follow me on all the social medias. All the links are in the description. But until next time, this is Doug from 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast signing out so I can get to work on my own contribution.